All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. So, what we should all know is next week is World Ocean Week, and we're pretty darn excited to be collaborating with ECOP, so Early Career Ocean Professionals, and the Canadian Ocean Literacy Coalition to bring the adventures and stories of these early career professionals from different disciplines to youth around the world. So this is a global collaborative network focused on uplifting the diverse perspectives of new generations of ocean professionals through a collective voice, ensuring that knowledge is transferred between experienced professionals and the next generation to promote ocean sustainability for the ocean we want. This program is endorsed by and part of the UN Ocean Decade for Sustainable Development. And so joining us today, we have Dr. Dayne Buddo. He serves as the Director of Global Ocean Policy at Georgia Aquarium. So he leads the organization's involvement in ocean conservation policies at state, national, and global levels. And he identifies the policy needs that they do have with their science program. So he is currently the regional coordinator for the Caribbean node of the ECOP program. He's a certified PADI Master Instructor. He is an advanced rebreather diver. He has conducted over 8,000 scientific dives, mainly assessing marine habitats, doing lionfish research and control, as well as habitat restoration. So let's bring him in live with us right now. Hey, Dayne, how you doing today?
I'm good, Joe. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Good, good. It is great to have you joining us. In fact, I believe you are joining us from Jamaica today, which is pretty cool.
I, I, I'm coming from Jamaica. I was home around since 5 o'clock.
All right. So we lost you a little bit there, Dayne. I think you were saying you're coming from Jamaica today, and you've been up since 5 o'clock this morning.
Since 5 o'clock. So we're having a lot of rain here in
Ah,
Jamaica.
yes. Yeah, the plan was originally we were going to try and do this from outside, but the rain is just not cooperating with us today. Well, Dayne, we have a great group of classrooms joining us from Canada, from the United States. We're excited to get to know you a little bit. I saw a little sneak peek of your presentation. It looks great. So why don't I let you take over for a little bit and take us into your world?
Beautiful, beautiful. Let me just quickly share my screen here. Really good. All right. I think that's up on the screen. Just let me know.
Yeah, looks good.
All right. Beautiful. All right. Everyone, I'm going to share my story a little bit of an island boy. I was born on an island, tiny island of Jamaica, and I had an immense fear of the ocean, but also an immense passion for wanting to explore. So how did I change from fear to exploration? And this is my story. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what drives me as a marine biologist, what compels me to explore, what compels my curiosity. How do I want to be that person that goes at depth and just find things and study things? And that's what really drives me. So my first time in the ocean, I'm the little kid right there facing the camera on the left. And that's my first time in the ocean. I was just about 6 months old at that point, but I've always been fascinated with the ocean. In Jamaica, as with many islands, many of us couldn't swim. Most of the population is terrified of the ocean, even though we're surrounded by the ocean. And it's typical, it's a deep rooted cultural fear of what's inside the ocean, from sharks to the fact that you may drown in an island. But how do I get out of that fear? I literally taught myself to swim by jumping off a bridge. I would not advise that, but that's how I did it. But I spent a lot of time at marine labs. So this is the marine lab in Jamaica. I was stationed there for a number of years, and the field of marine biology takes us to beautiful places like these to work. and to study. And it's just this immersive experience in a beautiful environment. But we have to protect it. And that's one of my main purposes, to protect, conserve, and restore these beautiful marine habitats so they can really perform and help us to actually survive this planet. Here's another location that I work at. The marine lab is right at the tip of that peninsula that's sticking out. And as you can see, it's right there. Beautiful beaches, great coral reefs, but it's in need of help. So we protect this area. It's a fish sanctuary. Persons can't just go in there and fish. But communities are involved. I spent a lot of time working on lionfish, and that's me in that photo. Removing one of these invasive species, this invasive lionfish, but has wreaked havoc in the Caribbean and the Atlantic region for quite a number of years now. It consumes everything. It reproduces every 4 days. So as you can imagine, this is causing a tremendous impact on the local fish stocks. We can spend some time doing coral restoration. So I spend a lot of time on coral nurseries underwater that's about 70 feet deep. And I'm literally pruning and cleaning off algae and making sure they're nice and clean and the corals can have enough light and they're not being suffocated by algae. We look for diseases, pick up predators, just to make sure that they're fine. I work a lot with fishermen. So that gentleman that's in that photo there, he's a fisherman from near the protected area. And he decided, okay, I'm going to try and protect this area. I'm not going to go inside the protected area to fish, but I'm going to make this protected area work for me and grow these fish. And when they come out the sanctuary, then I can fish them. And here he is with a barracuda, 4-foot long barracuda on his back, going to the market so he can provide food for his family. I work a lot with parrotfish as well, and the parrotfish is one of those most important species. Really cool species. It's beautiful, but it provides that function. That image that you see on the right of it chomping away at algae and bits of dead coral as well. That's a unique and very important function it's providing. They're taking out that algae so the algae doesn't overgrow the corals and kills them. But in return, it's also providing a lot of white sand for many of the beaches and islands, which is a big tourism draw as well. One of the coolest things I like about parrotfish is how it sleeps. It produces this mucus bag when it's going to sleep in the evenings. And it's pretty much, it's almost like a blanket just covering his entire body. And it rolls around in the sun a little bit to disguise, from visual predators. They can't see them very clearly, but also they disguise their scent. So, interrupted sleep on the reef as well. So if you're asked, how do fish sleep? Yeah, they do. And this cool parrotfish sleeps in a mucus blanket. Also do work on sharks. So this is a pretty big, a 14-foot long female tiger shark that we tagged in Costa Rica a few years ago. And you can see right on the tip of his fin, we install a satellite tracker. It doesn't hurt the shark, and it helps us to know where the shark goes. If we know where the sharks go, then we know where they need. Where do they need to eat? Where do they need to raise their young? How do they need to move around? If we know where they're going, then we can protect those areas, thereby protecting the entire life cycle of the shark. So we put these satellite tags on. Whenever they break the surface, it will send out a little signal to the satellites, and then we can figure out, okay, where is it tracking to? So we can almost follow it in a track over several months, so we know where the sharks will be going. I also get a chance to work with the biggest fish in the world, the whale shark. And a lot of these are done by photos, those photogrammetry prints. They can help us to determine what whale shark, which one actually we're looking at. They're very different in terms of those spot patterns. And this is where citizens can get involved. Kids can get involved as well. Just taking photos of these whale sharks and looking at those spot patterns. I do get to work in some cool places like Tonga sometimes, and now and again we'll come across whales, humpback whales, and that's me just getting very excited by seeing her mom and her calf around us. We're doing some work, and it just popped right in the middle, and it was a beautiful time just to be there with the humpback whales. We try to keep our distance, of course, because these are wild animals that don't like to be disturbed. So we keep a good distance away from them as well. But it's an awesome experience. I can tell you this. It's a beautiful experience to have. A lot of what I do as well is with marine protected areas, and this is one that's in Mexico, in a place called Cabo Pumo. And this is a sanctuary that's created by fishermen. Fishermen decided, you know what, we need to do better for our fish. Fish stocks are declining. Let's protect it. Let's stop fishing, and let's just bring people there to look at the fish over and over and over again. So with that one fish that they're coming to look at, those groups of fish, they're perpetually giving back to that. They're not killing the fish, they're just taking persons to look at the fish. So that fish is more valuable rather than being caught. I had a really great opportunity to go on a place called Honga Tonga. It's close to Tonga. And at that time that I did that expedition, that island was only 3 years old. It was formed by a volcanic eruption, and this island had no trees, no plants of anything to speak of, but tons of birds, tons of seabirds that were nesting. You see a little egg right there on the ground. It was nesting on a beach to go to different places. There's a crater in the back of that photo. It's a huge crater lake. We put in submarines, little submersibles to explore and see if we could find anything under there, but there was nothing there really. But it's slowly coming back. I'd love to go back maybe at the 10-year mark to see what the colonization has been like. I get to work in places like Alaska, which is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to and done work in. And we do a lot of work on climate and fisheries. So from these salmon that's making their way up the streams, moving through all of these habitats just to spawn. They're moving from the ocean up the streams, they're making that journey all the way up to the streams. I mean, some of them do get spent. It's a terminal fish. Once they reproduce, they will die. But it's, of course, becomes food for bears and eagles and many other animals up the stream as well. But it's one of those things that emphasizes the relationship between the rivers and the forest and the ocean. And that kind of connectivity is important to remember. Even though these fish are in the ocean, they need the rivers, they need the land to be in a good, healthy way. So whatever we're doing on land, it does affect the ocean, and we need to just remember that. Now, we have to connect science to policy. Our colleagues do, and I take these to the United Nations and get those into policy as well. That kind of connection helps because we need to make serious long-term changes, and a lot of those long-term changes require policymakers to put things in place for us, whether it's funding mechanisms or whether it's programs or laws that need to be enacted. That's where the long-lasting change comes in. Sometimes we get a chance to go on the Travel Channel. This is a film series called Bizarre Foods, and they go around the world and look at kooky things to eat. Strategy, and it was it's a venomous fish. It doesn't look like anything that you've seen before. It's weird looking. Consumption of lionfish. We taught it the host how to remove the spine, which are venomous, how to cook the lionfish and take them out there as well, and that really helped. My underwater journey from that fear to exploration, done many dives all around the world, and that has helped to break my fear. But I still have a little bit of fear inside of me, but that just keeps me on my toes. If you're interested in becoming scuba diver, from open water all the way up to instructor level, if you like. So that's a rebreather that I use, and it's a very cool piece of equipment. What it does, so That little tank that's underneath my arm, my right arm, that's just my backup tank. Everything else is on like a backpack on my back that you can't really see from that image right there. But what it does, it's called a rebreather because I'm breathing back the air that I breathe out. I do that 8 times. So I use one breath of air 8 times. So what happens when I breathe it out through one tube, it goes into that backpack and it scrubs out the carbon dioxide and adds a little more oxygen to it from a tiny little tank. And then it gives it back to me on the other side. And I keep doing that over and over again. So that tank can last me hours. I can dive deeper, and it's very quiet because there are no bubbles, coming off my regular scuba equipment. That's very, very quiet, and it's pretty cool actually. Take a lot of photographs on the water. That's how I look when I'm taking photographs. This huge rig, and you just pay attention, and you have to take some awesome pictures. And the thing with photos, especially compelling photos, it causes a change in people's minds. And we can use the power of photography to change behavior, to educate persons, to get them to fall in love with the ocean, even though themselves. But I can bring this world to them in videos and photos from underwater. And you get photos like these that provides that insight. Some of those things are from very deep areas, that even if you were a diver, you may not be going to take it to persons to compel them to change.
All right. Looks like Dayne's connection might have froze. We'll give him a second to see if things can reset and he can come back. If you're going to join us for the Kahoot today, it is loaded up in the private chat. I posted it on YouTube, and I also posted the Kahoot link in the private chat. So you can start loading up and be ready for the Kahoot. Hopefully he's back with us shortly. It's a very, very rainy day in Jamaica today. He was planning to join us from the beach, but as he said, it started raining at 5 in the morning. And so I'm sure that's affecting his connection a little bit. So hopefully we see him disappear. There we go. That's a good sign. And then he should follow the link and rejoin us. And then I think he's pretty close to the end, and we'll jump into our live Kahoot together. While we do wait for Dayne to come back and join us, I do want to share a few links. oceanweekcan.ca is where you can learn more about Ocean Week in Canada. So do take some time and visit that website. We had a great series of events here with the ECOP crew, exploringbythesea.com/ECOP. You can see the events that we did throughout this week. We did an event every day at 12 p.m. Eastern, and you can go back in time and you can watch some of those events. And then if you want to check out the Canadian Ocean Literacy Coalition, you can visit this website here, and you can learn more of the work that they're doing to spread ocean literacy across Canada. So we will give it another moment or two. I'll check my email as well to see if Dayne is trying to message me. But then hopefully we see him. And what I might just do while we're waiting is launch the Kahoot. And we'll play the Kahoot together. And then we'll go right to Q&A when he does rejoin us. So let's give it another 30 seconds here. And then while I do have you guys captive here, I will remind you that next week is World Ocean Week, and we have a ton of live events with ocean scientists, explorers, and researchers from around the world. We're going to go to penguin rehabilitation centers. We're going to go to the bottom of the ocean in an underwater laboratory. We're going to learn about manta rays and manatees, sea turtles in Nicaragua. We have a jam-packed week, so we hope to see some of your classrooms joining us for that. Let us jump into this Kahoot now, because I don't see Dayne back with us yet. I see we have lots of students in the Kahoot already, so I'm going to share my screen, and then we will get the Kahoot started. There we go. If you haven't managed to join yet, you go to kahoot.it. The PIN number is 674-6647 for today. If you have a device at your seat, well, you can join in directly. If not, your teacher could put this up at the front of the room. You can shout your answers out to him or her. If you're joining from home, or you have a tablet or a maybe a smartphone, scan that QR code and it will bring you right in. Okay, I don't see Dayne yet, so let's play some Kahoot. All right, question number 1. Where is Dayne calling us from today? Was he in Mexico, the United States, Jamaica, or Canada? Mexico, United States, Jamaica, or Canada? Ooh, that was fast. You guys all had your answer in 10 seconds. Good job, crew. So yes, he absolutely is calling us from Jamaica today. I know it was easy to get fooled there because he does work for the Georgia Aquarium in the United States, and then he showed us some cool pictures of the Marine Reserve in Mexico. The legend deer is in first place. Let's go to our next question. It is a true and false. Parrotfish produce the sand you see on the beach when they poop. Is that true, that parrotfish produce the sand you see on those nice white sand beaches when they poop? True or false? Ooh, we had a real split, 18-18, but it is absolutely true. When you dive, especially places like the Caribbean with lots of coral reef, you hear crunch, 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 crunch the whole time you're diving. And that is the parrotfish crunching on the coral, scraping off what they like to eat. And then when they poop, it actually, you see it come out, it's sand. And that sand washes up onto the beach. So that beautiful white sand beach you see is actually gone through a parrotfish, which is pretty cool. The silver ant has taken the scoreboard. They're in first place. We have another question. Satellite tags on shark help us learn. Do they help us learn where they eat, where they travel, what areas we need to protect, or all of the above? So if we put a satellite tag on a shark, do we learn where they eat, where they travel, what areas we need to protect, or all of the above? All right. Technically, any answer there would be correct, but the most correct is all of the above. Those satellite tags that we put on the fin of the sharks, anytime they come up to the surface and that fin sticks out of the water, then that sends a signal to the satellite, and then that information is sent to the researcher, and they can tell where the shark is, what it's doing. And then that's so important because if we have sharks in Costa Rica and we only protect the water around Costa Rica, we're not protecting that shark that migrates and it goes all the way out to islands like Cocos Island, the Galapagos. So we need to protect those different areas. And then I see Dayne just popped back in backstage. Dayne, you froze on us. We're just doing a Kahoot quiz. I'm going to bring you in 1 second once the quiz is finished, and we'll do some Q&A. So we're just on our last question here of the Kahoot quiz. Let's see. Lovely Iguana has taken the lead. And our final question from today: fish are more valuable to catch and eat than to protect them from tourism or for tourism. Is that true or is that false? Fish are more valuable to catch and eat than to protect them for tourism. True or false? All right, we had a split again, but Dayne did talk about that today, that protecting ecosystems is obviously very important for the planet. And then for those places like in Mexico or the Caribbean or other places around the world, people come to see the coral reefs, to dive and experience and explore. And they spend money in hotels and food and shopping in the places that they visit. So if you catch a fish and eat it, well, that's very good for you for, I guess, your lunch that day, or you could sell that fish. But if that fish is in the ocean on the coral reef, then people are coming to visit, and it brings lots of money for that country, for that area. So let's take a look at our podium here. In third place, we have the legend deer. In second, we've got the amazing iguana. And in first place, the fast possum. All right, crew, thanks so much for playing along. You guys were definitely paying attention today. Good stuff. I'm going to come back from that screen share, and I believe we have Dayne backstage, and I think we'll be able to do some Q&A. So let me see. Okay, we had Dayne backstage, but now we have a spinning wheel. So hopefully he's going to be able to join us in a second, and then we can do a little Q&A with him. Great job on the Kahoot today, boys and girls. Here we go. Hey, Dayne.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I think the rain, sometimes really heavy rain can affect internet connection.
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Dayne? Should we do some questions? You want to do some Q&A?
Yeah, let's try it. I mean, I'm not even sure where I froze on the presentation, but
yeah,
definitely we can do some Q&As.
Okay, perfect. And they did the Kahoot quiz. They did really well. So they were definitely paying attention to what you shared with them today, which is great.
Beautiful.
So let's go to a live classroom. We are going to start off with, we're going to take a little trip to British Columbia. We have Miss T's class joining us out there. I'm going to bring them in front and center. Hey, boys and girls, how are we doing today?
Good.
Excellent. Good to see ya.
Go ahead.
My name is Leah, and I have a question for Dr. Dayne. How heavy is all the equipment when you're underwater?
All right, Dayne, did you hear that question? She's wondering, all the gear you bring underwater, is it heavy when you're underwater?
It is definitely not heavy on the water. It's extremely heavy on land. But once it gets in the water kind of keeps it up. So it's very neutral. It's very weightless on the water.
Oh, that's surprising. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very cool. So unfortunately, we got that question answered and Dayne disappeared. So if he comes back in again, what I'm going to do is give him my WhatsApp number and have him call me. And then I think if we do the Q&A via WhatsApp, so with his voice, I think that might work a bit better. Dayne, we lost you again.
Oh, so sorry, man.
No, don't worry about it, Dayne. Dayne, I have a quick question for you. Do you have WhatsApp?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to call me on WhatsApp, and that might be a little bit easier to do the Q&A via voice?
No problem. Let me do that.
Here, I can send you my number. I'll put it in the private.
So is it there? Yeah.
Okay. So if you look there, it's going to come up in the private chat.
Oh, whale shark is the biggest fish there is in the world.
So there. And then if you send me a message, I'll call you there. We can try to continue the questions this way, but if you disappear again, I'll just call you on WhatsApp, and then we'll do it that way.
Okay. Hold on. I'm not seeing that text coming in as with your number.
Oh, it's in the private chat. Do you see? Uh-oh. I think we lost again. We will make this Q&A session happen. I promise you that. I think we'll just do it via WhatsApp. And so we'll be able to hear him. And it's much easier than trying to do the video call for him, especially when the connectivity is not really cooperating today. Okay, there we go.
I think the lightning has stopped. So let's try it one more time. Okay.
If Dayne, you can see there in the private chat, there's a private chat. It's a little speech bubble. I put my number there for WhatsApp. Do you see the private chat? There should be a private chat option. It looks like a little speech bubble on the screen. No? Okay, I'll put in a little bubble for you if you want to write it down really quickly in case we lose you again. I'll put it in a banner here. There. You should be able to see it now.
Okay.
On the screen. Yeah, so take that down, and if we lose you again, just call me on WhatsApp and we'll do it that way.
Perfect. Sounds good. Right.
Okay, awesome. So let's continue with our Q&A. We're going to go to Miss Melnick's class in Nova Scotia. How are we doing today, Miss Melnick's crew?
Oh, we got a thumbs up. There we go.
All right, we're ready for you.
Okay. in Jamaica, is there iguanas? And if there is, how many species of them is there?
All right. So I really like that question because we do have an endemic Jamaican iguana. So it's found nowhere else in the world. It's the only iguana we have in the wild. There are pet iguanas, those green ones from South America, but those are invasive. So we try to keep those contained. But we do have a Jamaican iguana, and there's a huge conservation effort to head start them in a zoo, get them to a certain stage, and then bring them back out into the wild. And that's been going excellent. Before 1995, it was thought to be extinct. Right? That species disappeared off the planet, and we found it back in some place called Hellshire Hills, very remote location. But they rediscovered it. It's no longer extinct, and there's a Head Start program that's doing wonderfully well. Great question. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, very cool. We'll come back your way shortly. Miss DeBlas's class is joining us today. Let me bring them in here. If you want to mute your microphone, we are ready to take a question from your crew. They are joining us in Ontario, but there.
Hi,
I think they.
my name is
there we
Rylan. Do you? Say it again. Hi, my name is Rylan. Do you clean my
Sorry, I heard clean.
Yeah.
Were you able to hear her question?
I heard part of it.
Yeah,
You
okay.
heard the first part. Yeah. Do you clean? What was the second part?
Yes.
Do you clean the oceans when you're diving?
Oh, I always try to, but it has to be small things. So if I'm going on like a regular research dive or photography dive, I have a little pocket on my gear. That's for trash. So I pick up plastic bottles, plastic bags, fishing line. I have a little knife that cuts fishing line. So I always take those things. But if I'm doing like cleanup dives, I will go with a big rig to lift, fishing gear off the bottom, like huge things. And I would deploy them, but that's a separate dive. But yes, every time I get, and that's only when I'm diving, but when even I'm at the beach and I see something washed up, I would take it out of the water and put it in a bin or take it somewhere else. But always do it. I always try and do it. Thank you.
All right. Very cool. We have Mrs. Thorpe's second and third graders joining us. If you want, Mrs. Thorpe, to unmute your microphone, we will grab a question from your class. I also see one in the chat, so I could read the question out too, if that's easier.
All right, we're here.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Serena, and I have a question. What is it called to be an ocean researcher?
Well, an ocean researcher is such a wide field. You can be exploring underwater in the deep ocean, or even just on the surface, working on the boat, taking samples from a boat, water quality, sampling plankton, the tiniest creatures, or working with whale sharks. Working in a lab, looking at acidification of water, of the ocean. So being an ocean researcher can happen on land, it can happen on the surface, it can happen on the water, it can happen remotely, whether it's from satellites looking at mapping and temperatures and everything, or even if you're on a submarine. There's so many things that you can do with being an ocean researcher. But one thing I want to remind you is that data does not only belong to scientists. People think that marine science is only for scientists. No, it's also for citizens. Anyone, even if you're not a marine biologist, can be involved in being an ocean researcher. Just go out there and help, be a part of it. There are some things that you can do, even just taking photos, that you can do to help be a part of ocean research. So never let that stop you. Never let a label stop you from protecting your planet.
All right, let's go back to our crew in British Columbia and see if we can get...
Kyle.
My name is Kyle, and I have a question. Was the whale shark around at the dinosaur times?
We haven't found records of whale sharks being around when dinosaurs were there, but as scientists go, we just don't know. Maybe we'll discover something that says, you know what, whale sharks were there when dinosaurs were there. But right now, we're not seeing any data for that.
Thank you.
Thank
But
you.
we do know, Dayne, I think this is right, that sharks have been around for something like 300 to 400 million years.
Oh, yes.
Write that down, sharks. 300 to 400 million years.
That's right.
Very cool.
They're a very, very successful species, group of species.
They're successful species.
Very successful. They've lasted through so many things on this planet.
Absolutely. Miss Thiessen, do you want to do one more question before we go to another class?
What's your question? Come on up. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm an anyone good. And I have a question.
Okay.
I wondered what was inside the egg in one of the photos Dr. Dayne showed us.
What was inside the egg that you showed us?
Well, it was still developing. We saw a lot of broken eggs, and it was just like a typical egg with a yolk and the white of the egg as well. Some of them that we found were recently hatched eggs. So the birds were hatched from that, but they were all nesting on the ground because there are no trees on that island, like totally barren, and they were doing really well. Lots of birds and lots of eggs just on the ground.
All right, very cool. Thanks to our class in Surrey, British Columbia. Nova Scotia. It looks like we have some folks waiting with some questions.
Oh, yes.
What's your favorite type of fish?
My favorite type of fish is actually a shark. It's called a thresher shark. It's one of the most beautiful and graceful sharks with a huge, long tail that just pretty much waves in the water. It's absolutely breathtaking. But I also love whale sharks. They're just graceful, and I just love being with them. And one of the beautiful things and opportunities I get at Georgia Aquarium is that I have 2 whale sharks just below my office. So whenever I want to see a whale shark, I just go downstairs and I get a chance to jump in with them as well. So I love thresher sharks, but I also love whale sharks.
Thank you. We have another one here if we have time.
Go for it.
Of course.
How deep have you gone?
Sorry, what was the question?
Too quick, bud.
Yeah, he was too quick. He was so eager to run away.
How deep did you go?
How deep have you gone?
The deepest dive I've done is 260 feet. So close to 100 meters.
All right. Very cool. Thanks for those great questions, Ms. Melnick's crew. Miss DeBlasis, do you have any more questions for us from your crew today? And Mrs. Thorpe's class as well. We can squeeze in another question before we sign off.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi there. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Yes.
we gotcha.
Can you? Okay, perfect. We do have a question. Come on up, buddy. Sorry, our video is not working, but go ahead.
Hi, my name's Griffin. Why is the ocean so blue?
A lot of it has
Did
to
you
do
guys
with
hear that?
reflection. I do. A lot of it has to do with reflection as well as the constituents of what's inside. So sometimes you'll see the ocean looking a little bit green because all this plankton inside of it. But whenever it's less plankton, it's clear water, it reflects a lot of what's going on outside in terms of the cloud cover on the sky. So nice blue oceans, especially in the Caribbean, usually focuses on very sunny areas, very clear waters. So clear waters and sunny conditions usually give a very blue ocean.
All right. And then we'll check in with Mrs. Thorpe's 2nd and 3rd graders, see if they have one more question for us. Oh, maybe not. And that is okay. I'm going to finish off then with Miss Melnick's class because I can see someone waiting ever so patiently to ask a question.
Favorite thing that you saw in the water?
Was that
Sorry, what?
what's the favorite thing he saw in the water?
My favorite thing I've seen on the water actually is that I love night diving. So going out at night, I love to watch the octopus feed at night. You know, it's very dramatic. It's very, you know, stealthy. So I love looking for octopuses while I'm diving at night, and they pretty much, frail out their arms and they just engulf their prey. It's a beautiful thing to watch. That was my favorite thing to see.
All right, very cool. And then Dayne, if students or classrooms want to follow along your adventures, do you have something like an Instagram or a website or somewhere?
You know, one of the beautiful things about my name is that there's no one else with my name. So you punch my name into Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or anything on a Google search, you will follow everything that I'm doing.
All right, excellent. Well, I'm going to start off with a huge shout out to our classrooms. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know the technology with the heavy rain didn't cooperate, but it's been beautiful right now, Dayne. We've got a really nice connection. So I think it looks like it might even be getting a little sunny behind you.
It is sunny. It's sunny now.
Yeah, so you can see how that rain can really affect the internet signal. But it doesn't matter. We got to spend some time with you. Saw some amazing places and work that you're doing around the world. So a shout out to our classrooms. Those were great questions. Thank you for playing Kahoot with us. Let me bring in a couple of the classrooms on camera.
There you are. Can
Really
you see
loud.
it,
Thank you
okay.
for hanging out with Dr. Dayne today. There they are. And then a shout out to Miss de Blas's crew and Miss Thorpe's crew who are backstage as well. And Dayne, thank you so much. Thank you for the amazing work you do to help our ocean. And thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you. And next week, happy World Ocean Day.
Happy World Ocean Day. Happy World Ocean Week. It's exciting.
Yes.
All right.
All right, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend, everyone. We're going to sign off for today.